That's another full year with our good friend Tony Messenger. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, McGraw. Welcome back from vacation.
Thank you very much. Good to hear your voice, and thanks for all you do for us in 2016. Look forward to it in 2017. Eric Greitens speaks, and he speaks. Let's first of all talk about where he spoke and the fact that he chose to speak right in the heart of Ferguson at Zisser Tire. That is clearly a shot across the bow at Governor Nixon, is it not?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no doubt it was a campaign setup. It was a look. I'm here with my new police chief, and there ain't going to be no looting on my watch. I mean, he basically said that, and it's a shot at Nixon. It's a note to his rural followers that, hey, look, I'm going to be the tough cop. And we're always going to have cops' backs, and we're not going to have any of this no-good protesting shenanigans. So, I get it. It is a continuing part of his not yet finished campaign, even though he's already won the race. But that being said, he appointed two people as Director of Public Safety and Deputy Director of Public Safety, who have very good credentials and are well respected in the field. Greg Farber is the deputy director. He's a fire official here in the city of St. Louis, and the police chief from Sykeston is the former president of the Missouri Police Chiefs Association. So his appointments were high quality. His optics don't sit so well with me if your job as governor is to bring people together. I thought it was a little divisive.
Let's talk about the MLS thing, because, again, he draws another line in the sand saying that he has made up his mind, no corporate welfare for MLS stadiums. We hearkened, I don't know if it was you or somebody else I was reading, where Governor Nixon came in and he was against all sorts of corporate tax breaks for movies and TV shows and the tour of Missouri, and 8 years later he very much changed his tune. So what's going on with this Greitens drawing a line in the sand over the MLS money?
Yeah, that was a column I wrote after an interview with Governor Nixon after he came out a week ago trying to sort of upend Governor-elect Greitens in terms of his opposition to the stadium. Where the governor-elect stands on the stadium is an interesting thing for me. First of all, if he's consistent on being opposed to corporate welfare and he decides that he's going to apply this as a philosophy of government and he's going to cut back various tax credits and apply them to schools and apply them to public safety and apply them to health care, then my hat's off to him. Even if some of those projects I might agree with and might think would benefit the city of St. Louis and the region of St. Louis, this state has gone completely out of whack in terms of its philosophy of corporate welfare and thinking that that's going to change our economic fortunes. And so if the governor-elect believes that in his heart and decides to make that a policy and decides to make it a consistent policy, then more power to him. I think I'll end up being on his side there, even though I'm sort of a fan of the MLS Stadium project. But that being said, this is another example of where it appears the governor-elect is still campaigning, because it serves his rural base very well if he basically takes a dump on St. Louis any chance he gets. And that's a lot of what he was doing right here. And it also is something that is just a little unusual for a governor who has a meeting planned with these investors who plan to invest in downtown St. Louis and is making such strong statements with no wiggle room before he's even met with these folks. That's unusual. And if he decides that he's just not going to stand in the way of any public money for corporations that are asking for various benefits, then more power to him. But it's real early in his tenure, so we'll see how that goes through a legislative process in which many of his fellow Republicans have proposed yet new tax credits that many would interpret as welfare for corporations.
Tony Messenger, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist. Everybody who knows Eric Greitens, who's followed his career, who's around him, they all say at some point the man wants to be president of the United States.
And that's not, and so your listeners understand, that's not just people who are critical of the governor-elect. That's people who are very close to the governor-elect. He is hyper-ambitious and wants to be president of the United States. That's not a criticism. That's a statement of belief based on his actions and people that I've talked to that are close to him that believe in him, that want him to be president of the United States.
So the question is he against corporate welfare because for the MLS stadium and certainly other things because it's good policy for Missouri, or it looks good on a national stage when you're running in Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina?
That's the great question. As Governor Nixon pointed out in our interview a week ago, he didn't hear Governor-elect Greitens criticizing the carrier deal that President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Mike Pence announced dramatically, allegedly saving some jobs in Indiana by writing a $7 million check from federal taxpayers to the owners of Carrier. So, is it a policy? Is it something he's going to be consistent on? Is it something in which he's going to espouse a philosophy and apply it in order to improve Missouri's economy, or is it part of a campaign platform? I don't know. I want to give the governor-elect the benefit of the doubt, assume that he's opposed to corporate welfare, and we're going to see a change in public policy in the state of Missouri. If that's the case, I look forward to that discussion and that debate. I just don't know yet if that's the case.
Tony Messenger, you read him in the Post-Dispatch, stltoday.com, and he's with us every Tuesday and Thursday. Tony, thanks for checking in. Happy New Year. Talk to you on Thursday.
Thanks, McGraw. Happy New Year.
827, Big 550.